Hello and welcome to the She Sessions. I'm your host Hadia,
And I'm Mariam.
I'm Rufaro.
and we are so happy to be back for season 2 of the She Sessions. We had a small break and now we're back. I hope you guys are feeling great. I want to know about how you've been spending the past 2 weeks, what you've been up to. Update me, Rufaro.
Has it been 2 weeks?
Well, we've taken
it feels long now.
we've taken a longer while from recording, but we haven't we haven't been on Spotify for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's definitely been longer since we have kind of, had this recording session.
Yeah.
So,
I'm super excited for this. I missed you guys, like you were saying. Because for you guys who don't know, we bulk record, right? So this is... Wow, the last time we recorded was in April, I think. No, what am I saying?
It was in March.
March.
You're always mixing up months.
My thing has started again of being bad with time. But it was in March, right? When we last recorded. And so we haven't gotten together in over a month. So I'm pretty excited to be back for season 2, baby. And to answer your question, I've just been resting. I'm on break now. It ends next week, unfortunately, but I've just been taking my time to rest, to catch up on sleep, and just probably being unproductive because I feel like I need it. So, yeah.
People who
Sounds
don't,
good.
maybe, who haven't followed, what do you mean by you're on break?
Like I think other people would say vacation. Other people will say, what do they say? What do they call it? So, urlaub, or leave.
Is it semester break?
Yeah,
or
kind of like that. Kind of like
work for you?
Yeah. Kind of like that. So when I go back on placement and life goes on again. But for now, I had like a 3-week break. So that's been fun.
Sounds good. Miriam, what have you been up to?
Just like, I think we saw each other like 2 weeks ago, thereabout.
Oh yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So
it was very brief.
We've actually seen each other in between.
Yeah.
I was in Munich for like a few hours, technically.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry for the whole fiasco of just not being prepared.
Now we want to know what happened.
I had like a visa interview in Munich. And so my whole family, all 3 of us, and then we decided to travel like in the night. So the interview was like a Friday morning at like 9, I think. And we decided to travel like in the middle of the night. So we left the house at about 3 a.m. and go on the road. So we literally just needed somewhere to like not shower actually, just like freshen up. We had our bath right before we left. So I like called up Hadia to say, we'll be at your place at like 6, 7 a.m. just to like freshen up and also like, help Ayo out, like changing his diapers and things. So that's what happened. And then we got there and the whole time she just kept apologizing. I wasn't sure what for.
Yeah,
like,
oh my God, it was so embarrassing because my apartment was a hot mess, number 1. Number 2, I slept and I didn't wake up, like on time. Yeah, and then I was like, oh my God, I just felt so bad about the whole situation.
But no judgment, girl, no judgment. It was a surprise
next time
visit.
I'll be prepared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was 2 weeks ago. I mean, just life, work, kind of work, IO. Yeah, just basic, really. Nothing out of the ordinary, to be honest. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, just grinding 9 to 5, the same routine. I mean, it was Ramadan, so that was kind of also like a break for me. So Ramadan is like our fasting month. I made it through. But other than that, nothing spectacular. Just like you guys, or like Rufaro, I would say resting. I know, Mariam, your life is a little bit more hectic. But yeah. So it's been good to have the break, and I'm glad that we're back.
Yay.
I kind of have been having something has been on my mind, and it's been bothering me maybe a little bit. I've been in my feelings a bit, and it's basically just the hike in prices of everything. And this has been something that's been happening. It's been happening for a while, if I do say so myself. But recently my rent was increased as well.
Oh,
so I've been kind of like really in my
what
feelings.
the heck?
Because I mean, it's written in my contract that my rent will increase every 2-3 years. So I kind of knew it was coming, but at the same time, it really hit hard, I think, because everything is just more expensive currently. And so, yeah, and I've genuinely been looking for, or not looking, but wanting to kind of move into a bigger apartment, thinking about it, thinking about possibly even, looking into like mortgages or buying a house, or not a house, an apartment. But with the prices and everything, it just feels like something that is not going to happen anytime soon.
But also the area you live
And
in, girl. Like Munich is famous for being pricey. So here's a pitch. Here's a pitch. How about you move to this side? And by this side, I don't mean like North Rhine-Westphalia, or you can move to Hessen, where Mariam is. You can move to NRW. Prices are doable this side.
Yeah.
Or I think Rhineland-Pfalz is also doable. It's okay-ish.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you guys. Like, I really genuinely want to know if you guys have been affected by, inflation in general in the past year or two. And I also kind of want to know, in terms of your living spaces, have prices increased? How were they already? Just give me the gist.
So in terms of like living spaces, that one's a little difficult for me because we just moved. So it's like, it's expensive anyways, because like it's a bigger apartment, so we're paying a bit more. In terms of like just the cost of things. So this, like, I feel weird saying this, but I'll say it anyway. So I'm the kind of person that doesn't like look at prices. So like, I don't know how much like paprika costs. So if it increases by tomorrow, I probably wouldn't know
That's some rich people talk.
No, this is what I know. It sounds that way. I know it sounds that way, but it's really not. I think it's just like my kind of very lazy way of living. It's not because I have so much money. It's just I can't be bothered. Like even if I did look, I probably wouldn't remember. So I don't have like. I know, again, I feel like everything I'm going to say now is going to sound super privileged and people are just going to roll their eyes. I also don't like budget, but mostly because I'm not like a careless spender, if that makes any sense. So I wouldn't overspend. Maybe I do sometimes. Obviously, if you don't budget, then you don't know. But I don't think I've ever like had any phase in my life where it was just critical and I was very reckless with my spending, but then I also don't budget. So it's kind of difficult to know exactly, but one thing I've definitely noticed is, at least what I noticed is how much is left in my bank account. So I know compared to last year, month on month, there was a certain kind of range that I would always have in my account is much less now. So that obviously means I'm spending way more. And it's not because I'm buying anything extra. It's obviously because things are more expensive. So that's the only way I notice it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
but definitely,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's been my whole thing as well, because everything is more expensive, and I see that, I kind of be running out of money a lot faster.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of deep. So, Rufaro, how has it been for you, your side?
Honestly, I wish I could be like you, Mariam. Like, you just don't notice price changes, price increases and stuff.
And I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying that.
No. I actually admire it, because when you say you're a careful spender, I like that, because then it means you're never going to like overspend on unnecessary things. I'm not like that. So this whole inflation thing has actually affected me because for me, of course, I don't count every penny, right? But when I go for shopping, for example, it depends on what kind of shopping am I doing. Sometimes I do shopping for the week. Sometimes I do for 2 weeks. Sometimes for the whole month. So my whole month shopping would be like, of course, the dry things, like the dry foods or the things that hold for long, right? The rices, the pasta, the what. So whenever I go for shopping, whatever kind of shopping it is, I tell myself, I'm spending this amount of money. So if I tell myself I'm going to the store and I'm coming out of that store having spent 50 euro, best believe I'm going to spend 50 euros because I'll actually shop with my calculator. So it would either mean if I'm able to like cut down on certain things, it either means I'm now able to kind of spoil myself on certain things. But if I get certain things, then it means I have to cut back on certain things. But my rule is if I tell myself I'm spending this amount of money, I don't go over it, right? So it kind of works. But like you said, I notice it. So also because I don't also keep prices of things to say, hey, bread goes for 1 euro, for example. I just go and pick bread and then I put the price in my calculator. So when, like last year, for example, or 2 years back, my trolley for 50 euro and my 50 euro trolley today, it's different. It's just different. I'm like, how is this amount of things? How is it like 50 euro? Or how did I spend this much money on so few things? And so I've kind of felt it. But I mean, you just, I guess I have to now change my maximum amounts when I say I'm going to spend 50 euro. Now it has to be, I don't know, 60, 70 or even up to 100. I don't know. But yeah, my way of budgeting has also not been really working with this inflation thing because I feel like I'm depriving myself of things that I could splurge on 2 years ago. Also, I'm a shopaholic low-key, especially online shopping. But now I've kind of forced myself to cut back on a lot of things.
That sounds extremely responsible. Like I wish I had a calculator with me.
You know?
Because for me, I'm not really changing my lifestyle, but at the same time, I'm still complaining about, the funds are low. Do you guys know what funzalo is? That's a story for another day.
What the heck is that word?
I picked it up from TikTok. It actually, the girls of TikTok are using it for something completely different. But long story short is funzalo is like a disease. Funds are low.
Oh.
But anyways, wow. Yeah, lost my track of thoughts. But yeah, like I was saying, I kind of wish I was budgeting in a way, or I think I should if I want to survive in the current economy. But back to the whole housing situation, because at some point last year, I know that I was seriously considering getting a mortgage. And it was because I pay so much for rent. For me, I just started thinking, why not spend that money or put a little bit on top of the money I'm already spending and pay that, for a mortgage. Yeah. At least I'll have something to my name, Okay. And I did actually end up meeting a mortgage advisor. She explained everything to me, and I don't know, at the last minute I chickened out, or I just felt like I wasn't really sure if it was going to be the best option for me, especially as a single person living by themselves, I kind of want to know what you guys think about investing in Germany and the possibility of actually paying for a house, whether it's through a mortgage or through cash.
I mean, if the money is there, I think it's a good idea. But because also it's the system, the German system, it's kind of like people believe more in renting than in buying. So owning would definitely have you having a constant source of income when you're renting it out or whatever. So it would work out even if you decide to move out of Germany and live somewhere else. But for me personally, it's not really a prospect that I have on my mind because I don't know, maybe because also I'm not well informed on the whole process of it all. For me, Germany is just kind of like, I have this, maybe it's a misguided opinion, but I just have this opinion of everything is expensive here. And I just feel like the government will find a way of taking money from me either way. So I don't know if it would be that much of an investment as I would have it in my mind. It would be nice if I planned on staying in Germany because then I would know, hey, this belongs to me and I can live in it. But that's not my plan. So I don't know. But I think it's a good idea either way. It's just not for me.
Okay. What about you, Miriam? Would you ever consider actually buying something here in Germany or, getting, a mortgage?
I'll say definitely. It's something that, for instance, Paula and I have been talking about a lot lately. I remember when we spoke a few weeks ago. So I was actually at my son's guitar. I ran into some lady and she was basically, pitching to me that she was a wealth advisor. She is a wealth advisor, not that she was just pitching it. So she is a wealth advisor. She has made a lot of money in Germany, according to her, obviously, by investing in property. Now she wants to kind of teach like women how to do this because basically what you said, Rufaro, she said like in her experience, most women are kind of like, they don't know enough or they're scared of it or, basically women, excuse me, don't invest in property as much as men do. So yeah. So I met, and it was so interesting, but like she was going to charge me so much money to go through this process. So I was just like, sorry, I don't have that kind of money. In terms of what it could cost, so I think you were saying it might be expensive. So if we could actually buy an apartment for, again, as low as, in quotes, I don't have this kind of money, but as low as, like 100,000 or like 90,000, and you actually buy a whole apartment. Right, from the searches that we were doing.
In Frankfurt?
It's not, in Frankfurt, exactly. In Frankfurt.
Wow.
So in Frankfurt, in surroundings, it's possible, right? I think the one we had seen was in Offenbach, which was our former city, but it's pretty much Frankfurt. Like the prices there are the same as here. So we've been looking at it, and for us it's really important to do this because currently all our investments are in something that is extremely so I think because we've invested in something that is way more risky, right? Which is this business that we run in Nigeria. The economy is so volatile. Invested in property in Germany doesn't seem like such a bad idea if that makes sense. So we're thinking about it. We haven't actually made first. So actually would like to share how that journey goes if we do get into it. Hopefully help someone out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to answer the question, yes, we would consider this. I do have some of the fears that Rufaro has in the sense of, would you actually make money from it long term? Because it's still Germany, right? What would taxes look like, and how much can you really charge? That scares me a lot, but we'll see. Again, like I think for me, we've done the worst thing in the world anyways. We've invested in the riskiest thing anyways. So anything else looks better. That's kind of where I'm at.
I get you. I mean, first of all, I'm like really kind of shocked and also jealous that like housing is as low as 90,000 because that's impossible here in Munich. It's impossible.
You can forget it.
Oh my God, when I spoke to the mortgage advisor, she was basically telling me that the lowest I could find is kind of like 300,000, Yeah. And
wow.
So even just like for something like what you have, just like a simple studio, because it was just like
for
simple
one
studio.
One bedroom, it would be like 300,000, And I know from people who have actually bought apartments here, they've gotten mortgages for 2-bedroom apartments that are worth 700 and 800,000, And I know someone who is paying for a 3-bedroom apartment that is over 1 million. And so €1 million, which for me is insanity. First of all, why? Why? It just
Exactly.
makes no sense. But at the same time, that's kind of the prices that I'm dealing with, or we're dealing with here in Munich. And so for me, after that discussion, she told me, yeah, you can look into buying something somewhere else in Germany, but it's going to be really hard because if you don't live in the city, they're going to ask you a lot of questions and they're going to be hesitant to sell you something. And so for me, it was like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's worth it for me to go through all of this headache. Like I said, since I'm just kind of like by myself. And also the idea of possibly, having to pay for an apartment until I'm 60 or 65. I'm like, for what reason? I don't even know if I'm going to live that long, number one. Number two, it's like, I mean, even if I do, it just feels like life is so uncertain. Anything can happen at any moment. And also, I'm kind of hoping that at some point in life, hopefully in the nearer future, that somehow I'll have enough money to just buy a house wherever I want, or an apartment or whatever, in cash without having to go through this mortgage system, which I just feel like could be, more of a burden than anything else. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that matter.
Munich is a scam though, because I
Oh
remember
my
I was having
God.
this conversation with my partner, right? And we were talking about this whole buying thing. And I was like, if I am to invest in property in Germany, I would rather invest in a house, like a proper house in some Dorf somewhere. So for you guys who don't speak German, Dorf is like a village, because the tendency is when the people in the city, so people like us, right? The more when those people decide to marry and start having a family, some people are okay with like living in the city in an apartment, but a lot of people, it's kind of like a cultural thing. I think they prefer to raise kids, especially when they have two or more children. They prefer to raise them in like a dorf type of setup, right? Because it's more chilled, it's more whatever. And I feel that's a cheaper way to obtain property. Because also, I was even talking about it saying in places like Munich, Hamburg, or here in North Rhine-Westphalia, you look at places like Dusseldorf, those places are pricey. But my thing is, if I'm to buy the apartment today, what's to tell me that it will have the same property value because of its location 30 years from now, for example? What if they decide to develop, I don't know, a Dorsten of a city, or the city you guys did your masters? What if they decide to develop it and it becomes
Yeah.
the new Munich, and then Munich loses or doesn't necessarily then increase its property value? You know what I mean? Will it still be worth it? That's always my question, this uncertainty, because I don't know, man. It's not, who's to say Berlin, and it's always gonna be Berlin, right? Munich is always gonna be Munich. But what if another city or another area is developed to in a way that it's so high up there in property value, such that it surpasses Munich, for example. So it's it's just too risky, because if you're telling me you get a studio apartment for 100K, when you can get for 100K, you can get something like a 3-bedroom apartment somewhere else, like Frankfurt, for example. It's just, well, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not sure.
Yeah. It's really crazy here in Munich. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say what you were saying is like correct, right? Like this lady, sorry, because we had such a long conversation. So she was actually saying there are like ways you can actually check if a city, what the trend for certain cities are. So even if the city is like currently 60,000 people, there's some cities that are currently, you know, what's the word? The rate of people moving there, or rate of growth, right? Let's put it that way, is like currently like increasing, and then there are some cities that it's declining. So it's good to, even if it looks like, a city that currently nobody wants to live in, you actually just want to take a bet on the fact that, okay, it's growing. What's it going to look like in the next 20 years? Because like you said, you're going to have the apartment or
Yeah.
house, whatever you buy, for like such a long time. it doesn't matter if there are only like 1,000 people in the city, as long as it's like growing, um, your chances are really good. So, for instance, she was saying she had just built a house in, I think it might have been Dresden. I might be wrong, but somewhere close to where we studied, right? And she was like selling it and going to make on the sale of the house like 300 to 400K, in like her own like extra profits from the sale. And I was like, who lives there? And she was like, yeah, so you just have to check, what's the trend saying? Is it like growing? Is it declining? And I think they always check that already so that, it doesn't have to be like a Munich or like a Berlin before you invest.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Interesting.
Maybe I'll change my mind at some point, maybe not. Um, but yeah, I've been thinking also a lot about the fact that because I'm in Germany, like I don't really have any family here, but I think about if I had family, would I want to go back and live with them in order to cut on expenses? Because rent does take a huge chunk
I would
of
do.
my salary. You wouldn't?
I would do it like
Oh, you would do
in a
it.
heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've really thought about it. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have that option, but at the same time, I feel like living alone is such a strange kind of thing because on one hand, I honestly don't think it's normal. I don't think it's, wait, let me look for the right expression.
Should say it normal.
Yeah, I don't think it's natural. Okay, let me put it that way. I think to live alone,
I get that.
the way it's kind of, I don't know how common it is in your countries, but in our country it's just not that common. But this kind of Einzel kind of living situation, I don't feel like it's very natural, but at the same time, once you've kind of lived that life, very strangely, I feel like it's really hard to kind of go back to living with people, if that makes any sense.
Definitely.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, I've been living alone for the past 5 years and I genuinely feel like it was hard in the beginning, but now I just don't know how to not live alone. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like obviously if I lived with people, if I went back to living in, shared apartments, which is, I don't think it will ever happen. But if I were to do that, I would possibly cut down on, expenses and maybe save myself a buck or two. I don't know. Miriam, you have a housemate?
A permanent one.
So, yeah, I don't know. What would you say about all of that?
So I think the truth is, the thing about me and my housemate, we've done it in a very silly.
You're calling him your housemate.
We've done it in a very silly way, in the sense that everything is you know how they say cheaper by the dozen, right? Everything is slightly more affordable, or everything is slightly more in reach. Let's put it that way, because there's two people, right, and two salaries, whatever. But we haven't so we haven't been done it in a very smart way, in the sense that we could, for instance, have maybe a slightly less expensive apartment and save a bit more. So right now, if you kind of split what we're paying in half, then we end up paying what someone is paying for living alone, which we could actually pay maybe a bit less, if that makes any sense. So if we take what we spend on like the apartment and everything and split it into, as an individual, I'm probably spending the exact same amount that you are spending, right? Whereas for some people, they, kind of set it up in a way that at least, if a single person is spending, let's say 900 to have their own space, if I'm married or I have a partner, then I'm spending like 600, when you split it in half. But we were still at that 900, 1,000 mark when you split it in half. So that's the thing about me, my flatmate. I think we've not done it in like the most in the smartest way. We kind of just want to be comfortable, which is what we both.
You.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always kind of, sorry, but I just feel like I always thought in my head, yeah, definitely if you live with someone or people, then it should be cheaper. But yeah, Rufar, what's your experience?
It should be just, don't be us. It should be.
But I mean, it should be cheaper, right? But for me, I'm also like, I take my mental health so seriously. So when it comes to living with people, I find it so stressful. Or I mean, thus far, I found it so stressful. And I'm just like, there's no amount of money I wouldn't pay for my rent to live alone. I will literally, if it means my whole salary is going towards a comfortable apartment or a comfortable house, best believe I'm going to do it. Because I'm just like, that there's nothing that beats the feeling of you coming home from a stressful day at work, and you just come into your space and you're just able to relax. You're just able to remove your shoes, your socks, throw them there, your clothes, throw them there. I'll see you tomorrow. There's nothing I wouldn't give to just have that feeling. So, I mean, it's possible that at some point, due to, I don't know, life thing, I may need to go back to shared living spaces, but I it's not an option that I would just easily take, because also for me, because I'm also such a neat freak, except for times when my mental health is just not in a good space. I'm not saying I'm always neat, right? But I'm a neat freak. So I would hate to come back home and find the cushion not on the sofa, or not on the correct spot on the sofa, or to find the kitchen pots are everywhere. I can't do that. So it would just stress me out so much. I'm like, is the money that I would pay for an apartment of my own worth what this whole living situation would do to my psyche, So like you, Mariam, I will pay for comfort. I will gladly and proudly pay for comfort. I don't care what it does to my pocket, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, I guess. Fair enough. I mean, like I said, I genuinely don't know if I could ever revert back to living with people. But at the same time, I just feel like it would be nice to save a bit. Or find someone rich, or something.
Right? Like, come on. If someone is listening, just sponsor us. Just 1 month of saying, guys, this month I'll take care of y'all's rent. You know what I'm saying? Like, or at least 2 months. 2 or 3 months. That would go far.
Well, anyways, that was kind of something that I really wanted to get off my chest and talk about. If you have anything that you want to add on to this discussion about your living situation, inflation, do write to us. We will be continuing the conversation again, I guess, at a later point. If anything changes in the economy, if our situation changes, just continue to follow us. You will find us on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, and YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. At Pale Rent, please.
Bye. Bye.